Welcome back to my studio. Today, I want to take you on a bit of a journey, one that led me to win the Oil Painters of America, or OPA, gold medal. This wasn't an overnight success, but the result of years of dedication to loosening up my painting process while painting realism, something that artists like John Singer Sargent and Richard Schmid mastered so beautifully in their work. And I'm honored to carry on in that tradition. If you're feeling stuck, trapped in tight, controlled paintings that lack the expressive, bold brushwork that you admire, then this video is for you. Because by the end, you'll not only understand the steps that led to my success with this painting, but also to give you actionable insights you can apply to your own work. If you've been feeling frustrated or disconnected from your art, I want you to know that I am here to help. You don't have to struggle through this alone. So I'm actually hosting a live webinar this Monday at noon Eastern, where I'm going to be diving in even deeper into these strategies with a live Q&A so that you can ask me anything. It's a great opportunity to work through your painting blocks together, and I'm going to be exploring in even more depth what I'm talking about today for this OPA winning piece, the exact tools and strategies that I used so that you can put them to work for yourself. So like many painters, my journey started in an unconventional way, or at least a way that wasn't really aligned with art making. So growing up, I was encouraged to pursue a practical career. So go to college, get a good degree, secure a solid job, and keep painting as something I do for fun on the side. And that's what I did for years. My art training, well, it wasn't really that. I was largely self-taught, and the training that I did get was from like sporadic workshops or classes that I could afford in my free time. I even spent a summer at an atelier. These experiences really helped me to build the technical foundation I needed. But the real transformation in my work came from my own relentless curiosity and passion for loosening up. During this journey, I devoured everything I could about the works of John Singer Sargent, Richard Schmid, and basically any painter associated with these two names. So Schmid in particular really became my idol. His paintings felt like the perfect evolution of what I loved in Sargent's work, bringing an expressive but so controlled and nuanced looseness to the canvas that played with the translucency of the paint itself and seemed to celebrate the act of painting as much as it celebrated the subject being depicted. Schmid had this really masterful ability to leave areas of his paintings, particularly the backgrounds, unfinished, which added a sense of design and movement that really captivated me. For years, I wrestled with the rigidity of my training, trying to loosen up my brushwork while still holding on to realism. And the tipping point for me came when I realized that the unfinished areas of a painting could be just as powerful as the meticulously rendered ones. That revelation honestly shifted my entire approach to painting, allowing me to express more of myself into the process. This shift, which was really heavily influenced by Schmid's design choices, ultimately became a really crucial part of this painting that won me the OPA gold medal. So the strategy that took me from that moment of realization to winning the award, it wasn't about mastering more techniques. It was really about transforming how I approached painting. And this is the same framework I now use with my students on their journey toward painting with more looseness and freedom without sacrificing the realism. So the first and most important step was getting really clear about the kinds of paintings I wanted to create. I'll go into more detail about this on my upcoming webinar, but once I had this vision, I could actually reverse engineer the process, analyzing the work that I admired and then identifying the key elements that I needed to bring into my own paintings in order to capture that je ne sais quoi in my own work. Next, I assessed my own skills and identified the gaps between what I could paint at the time and what I wanted to create. This allowed me to focus my practice on areas that needed improvement, like creating depth and light, but all with looser brushwork. Addressing those gaps required both intention and a willingness to fail. I did master copies as well as personal pieces to practice the techniques that I admired, knowing that failure was going to be part of this process. Sometimes I would go for the master copy and really fall short, or sometimes I would have a great master copy that showed me that I really could accomplish what I wanted in my artwork. But then when I would go to my original pieces, it's like I had never painted before. And so letting go of perfectionism and this need to succeed was really key to making progress. Eventually, I had to acknowledge that my technique wasn't holding me back any longer, though. So when I actually took my original paintings and I put them on my inspiration board that had all of the master's work on it, and my pieces just started to look like they blended in, not as copies or derivatives, but as original pieces that genuinely belonged in the same family, I knew I had achieved what I set out to do. And from there, I shifted my focus from skill building to production. And finally, I redefined success by measuring how much freedom and authenticity I brought to the painting experience and to my canvas. This allowed me to break free from my own limitations and just enjoy the process more. So specifically, what I mean by this is that I really let go of that concern over what is the finished product going to look like. And I tried to just be really present and let myself get into flow when I was painting. And honestly, to paint what moved me the most versus what I thought was like a technically proficient painting. So if you would like a detailed breakdown of the tactical steps I used, I'm going to be going over this on Monday's webinar, but I also have a YouTube playlist where I actually walk you through the creation process for this painting step by step. And that playlist is already up on my channel. So after you watch this video, if you enjoy hearing my tactical summary, I would highly recommend that you check out that playlist. You'll find it linked up above. But for now, here's the simplified version. So first and foremost, I had to develop my vision for this piece. And I had to make sure that that vision reflected what would be enjoyable for me to create, rather than worrying about commercial success or what I thought would do well in a competition. So I created a vision board filled with the specific paintings that were inspiring me around the idea that I had for this piece. And this board, all the paintings on it, all those pieces had the kinds of qualities that I knew I wanted to bring into this particular work. Next, I had to find and perfect my reference. So I already had these reference images from a photo shoot that I did several years ago. And I was looking back through these images, and I was looking specifically for a reference that just already evoked the kind of painting I wanted to create. So I actually had my inspiration board up, and I had all of my reference photos up side by side on my computer, and I scrolled through the references until I found one that just really seemed to mimic what I loved in my vision board, my inspiration board. There were a lot of Sargent paintings on this board that had really beautiful, just like delicate light and incredible fabrics on the models, and the posing, even in the more traditional portraits, just felt like they had a lot of personality in them. And so I specifically was looking to find that connection between those qualities and the specific reference. And then I used Lightroom and Photoshop to tweak that reference until it really perfectly aligned with my vision. Again, the first YouTube video in that playlist I mentioned actually walks through this full step in complete detail. So I would recommend that you check that out. Next, we need to dive into the painting process. So with the reference locked in, I dove straight into the painting, focusing entirely on really just reproducing my mock-up of that reference. By this point, I had really gotten my plan for the painting to the point where all I really had to do was translate this from pixels to brushwork rather than making big decisions at this stage. So I didn't ask questions about like, oh, well, what if the model's hand was in this position? Or what if she was wearing a slightly different color dress? Or what if I changed the background color? Or what if I adjusted the value structure? I wasn't asking those questions at this point because I had actually solved all of those problems in the stage where I was tweaking that reference and turning it into the mock-up that I painted from. So at this stage, all I really had to do, again, was just think about translating what I had in my mock-up onto the canvas. Really, the only decision that I had to make was how am I going to load the brush and put it on the canvas in the right way to make that mark. This really freed me up to concentrate on getting more expressive brushwork and playing with the translucency of that background and balancing the abstraction with the realism. Now, let's talk about how you can apply these principles to your own painting practice. So the key here is to develop a really clear vision of what you want your artwork to look like. Once you have that vision, identify the skill gaps that are really holding you back, and then put in the work with intentional exercises that are designed to help you close those specific gaps. As you progress, you're going to naturally reach a point where your technique is no longer holding you back. And the way that you're going to know this is that the paintings you're creating could go on your vision board that you create to kick off this process, and it will just look like it belongs there. It's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. And that's when you know that you can shift your focus to production. And remember, we are always learning, but there comes a time where you can ease off the exercises and focus on creating finished pieces that embody what you've learned.
All right, everybody quiet. We've got those final big award, the gold medal, a full-page artist-focused feature sponsored by American Art Collector magazine for $6,400. The gold medal goes to
Chelsea Lane.
Congratulations. That's beautiful.
And honestly, I want to say, honestly, we did not look for somebody who's coming to the show. This was not planned, okay? But it's so lovely that you're here. It's so lovely to meet you because you are a fantastic painter. You are.
I don't think I'm ever going to forget the experience of winning this OPA recognition. When I walked into the gallery for that exhibition, out of 2,500 entries, about 100 paintings made it into the show, and every single one of them was stunning. The level of mastery was humbling, and to be included among such talented artists was really all the honor I was expecting to get that evening. So when the awards were being announced, I was hoping for like maybe some kind of recognition, like maybe an award of excellence, but I never imagined I would win the gold medal. As the juror, Elizabeth Pauley, she's walking through the 17 awards that come before the final award, the gold medal, is awarded. And by the time she'd gotten through all 17 of those paintings, I knew those paintings. I had gone and looked at them, and I knew just how incredible they were. And by the time she got through those 17, I had already resigned myself to all the things I was going to put into practice to try again next year. But then, as she was announcing the final award, I saw Elizabeth. I saw my name starting to form on her lips. I will never forget the the slow motion version of this unfolding, and the look on my dear friend Louis Carr's face. he was standing right in front of me, and his excitement as he waited for her to finish saying my name, he looked like he was about to jump up and down. It was such an incredible moment that was then immediately overshadowed by the realization that like this was really happening, and I had to walk up and shake hands and actually receive this award. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even realize that winning this involved an actual gold medal. And so before I know it, there's a medal being put over my head and I'm shaking hands. And I have to say, I was so stunned that I am just really grateful that I didn't have to say anything, because I was just in a state of complete disbelief, like dazed, speechless. Yeah, even now, it's hard to even find words to describe it. But having my mom there, having my friends from East Oak Studio there, it just made it so incredibly special. It's really hard to put into words even now what that moment meant to me, but I know it's something that I will never forget. If the approach that I've been talking about that built up my skills to the point where I could make this painting, and then the process of making this painting resonates with you and you're ready to dive even deeper with me, I want to invite you to join me this Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern, noon Eastern, for that live webinar where I'm going to be walking through this process in even more depth. So I'm going to be talking even more about how I put this painting together, and I'm going to be going in even more depth about how you can apply this to loosening up your own oil paintings as well. There's going to be a live Q&A at the end, so you can ask specific questions about your own challenges, as well as just things you're curious about regarding this painting. I would really love to see you there, so make sure you sign up using the link in the description below. I really want to thank all of you for all of your support on this journey. YouTube is really a key part of how I got started doing this full time. And without all of you watching these videos, I probably never would have created this piece. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate you. And until Monday's webinar, happy painting.